Oh, landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And if I had a nickel, for every time I had a nickel, I'd have twice as many nickels. So, I was coming downstairs to do a video kind of re-elaborating, part of why I geek out so much over these cheap knives and why I keep looking at them. And on the porch was the Duratech Tools knife with the liner lock and the flipper tab. And let's flick the bean. Eh. So, and something that happened earlier today, I had an interesting interaction with somebody in the comments on one of my videos, and they had mentioned that maybe the flick the bean and the tip up is the Lord's carry was getting to be a bit too much. And I like to think that I handle criticism pretty well, and when it's constructive, I'm definitely willing to listen. And it was polite, it was well thought out, it was well stated, so they didn't do anything wrong. But I can ask you guys, what do you think? Is that stuff way too played out and you're getting tired of hearing it? Because for me personally, it's kind of baked into the channel. It makes me happy to do that. And it also gives me a second to let my words catch up on my thoughts, is the best way to put it. I know what I'm going to say next with that, and I can kind of let things play through before I speak afterwards. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if anybody else has that problem, but when you're thinking a lot faster than you talk, words get scrambled, and that's why I use the word so much. I have to parse and get everything back together again. And that kind of curbs that, but I'm interested to see, do you guys think it's gotten old, or do you guys think it's just baked into part of the channel, and that's part of what you're here for? I am interested in finding out. Leave a comment and let me know. But this thing came in and I was excited to check it out because I spent $8 all in on this, and that is ridiculously cheap. And the original Duratech Tools knife with the axis lock can centrifugal flick. I'm never going to stop pointing that out. This was $15 and it was absolutely phenomenal. And you can see like these are essentially the same pattern just with different locks on them. And I will say this one right out of the box feels super snappy. Like that is a really good detent. That's a really good flipper tab. And the liner lock centers well. Everything is really, really good with this. It operates smoothly. It's very well centered. It's got your deep carry pocket clip that's tip up. And we'll skip saying the Lord's carry for now, for the rest of this video at least, until I find out whether or not y'all are tired of it. But this thing it feels really, really good. And so that's one of the things. Part of the reason that I'm so into cheap knives right now is it's a hell of a time to be alive for a knife guy. Cheap knives have gotten so good. And, compared to the purchasing power of the dollar back when I was buying cheap knives when I was a kid, it's close to, it was close to twice what it is now as far as the purchasing power is concerned. And I've got a couple of, this is a prime example of what a cheap knife back then would have been. It feels like putting on a very, very old pair of shoes. I know what this is all about. They always had stuff falling off them. They always had problems like the pocket clip right here. They had problems like these insets being loose. They came out factory dull, and after some use, they went to ridiculously dull. The locks were always kind of sketchy. This is what cheap knives used to be, and this is a prime example. I've got a couple other ones. These are Winchester knives that came from a set from Walmart ages and ages ago, and the scales on these were held on with double-sided tape. That's right, double-sided tape. And when I found out that the scales were held on like that, they just kind of fell off in my hand off of, I believe, this one right here. I saw that and I peeled the other one off and I sat there with it and decided I'm going to try modifying this. So I took some spalted dogwood that I cut down years earlier, and it was cross-cut and made all nice and fancy, and you can see the spalting on it's absolutely beautiful. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to figure out how to make new scales for this out of this wood. And, for not having any developed skills and only guessing at what I'm doing, it came out pretty good. This spalted dogwood is kind of fragile, so it cracked here and it cracked here, but everything was so well glued down that it hasn't gone anywhere. And you can see how nasty that squeeze out on the glue is. I didn't even realize I needed to deal with that until after it had set. And you can see back here, it is uglier than a $2 hooker. And, I'm still kind of proud of it because it came out looking otherwise quite cool. But, this thing saw light use. I knew what I had on my hands and wasn't beating on it. And still, the tip bent quite a bit. I don't know if that's showing on camera really well. Yeah. So the tip bent pretty badly right here, doing next to nothing with it. And this is the kind of steel that I got used to dealing with years ago. It stayed soft, and I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't sharpen well. But, now I know. I know a little bit more, and I understand why these things happened. Winchester Limited Edition 2007. So this is even newer than the ones that I'm complaining about right now. But I popped the scales off of this, more double-sided tape, and I made these scales out of some polyester resin or Alumilite that a friend of mine did a casting on and didn't like how it turned out. So he gave me a stack of the blanks that didn't go good for him, and I figured out ways to use them. And this is one of them. And, I don't feel like the pattern on this and the way this looks jibes with the rest of the knife, but I'm still proud of it because I figured out how to do it, and I got it done, and, it's something that I worked on. And, still, these things, as far as knives go, they're pretty much trash. Like, you wouldn't want to carry them, you wouldn't want to use them. They came out of the box super dull, and it takes nothing to take them from factory dull to ridiculously dull. And, today, like, the $8 that this costs today, is equivalent to, or how do I put this? $8 today is like $4 back then, and you couldn't buy anything for $4 back then. The $15 today is, again, $7.50, $8 back then. It wasn't a lot of money. But for nicer stuff like this, you would have been spending 40, 50, 60 bucks, and the technology wouldn't even be up to this point. You did have liner locks, you did have some pocket clips that were almost never tip up. The industry hadn't reached that point yet. And so this would cost several times more than it does now. And of course, that 40, 50 bucks would be equivalent to spending $100 today. And, so basically we're getting these for half of what a sort of decent knife would have cost back then, and these are absolutely phenomenal. For $5, this one is not necessarily a prime candidate, but Axis Lock from Walmart, and if you've seen my other videos, this thing took an ungodly amount of work to get working right. But, another Axis Lock from Walmart, $5, and this one came out of the box a little tight, adjusting the pivot screw, and it's happy. It does the things it's supposed to do. $5. This is another one for $5, which would blow anything from back then out of the water. And for something like this, it'd probably be about a good 30, 40 bucks, And it's just, the list goes on and on and on. This GVDV, $14. And this thing has been absolutely fantastic. I've carried this for a few days, and it did really good. These I haven't carried yet. I haven't had the free pocket space or the free waistband space yet because of the Tibu-Geddon. But, even with all that, this is a $7 Paraframe knockoff Gordon knife from Harbor Freight. And this thing blows these guys out of the water. It blows this guy out of the water. It blows a lot of the things I had back when I was a kid clean out of the water. And this thing is very, very much not impressive to me. You got to flick it really hard to get it open. It's a liner lock. It's a tip-down carry. We know how I feel about that. But still, it annihilates everything that I had access to when I was a kid that cost more than this then. This would have probably been another $20, $30 knife. And, of course, today that would be like $40. And it's part of why, like, I'm always checking out these cheap knives, and I'm watching how the technology is getting better and better and better on those. It was not very long ago when something like this was impossible to find at, $8, $15, $5, $5, $5, $14. It blows my mind how good things have gotten and how cheap they've gotten. And of course, the primary subject of the video is this Duratech knife. Again, $8. And the fit, finish, and everything else is wonderful on it. The pattern on this Texture G10 is wonderful. The pocket clip's really good. Like, I carried this one. I carried this one for a full week and some change for the Super Budget Showdown Season 1. And if you haven't seen that, I'd love it if you check it out. That was fun to make. I'd hope it'd be fun to watch. But, this thing was absolutely fantastic. This is essentially the exact same pattern, the exact same blade, the exact same everything, except the axis lock got changed out for a flipper tab and a liner lock. And it won't do the centrifugal flick. Like, it doesn't do that the way this one does, just centrifugal open, which, honestly, I'm still blown away by. I love a centrifugal opener, but they're kind of hard to find now. And part of that's because, centrifugal knife's scary. And, knife laws are weird, so guys aren't making stuff like this on purpose. I just happen to be in a part of the country where the knife laws pretty much all got thrown out. I can carry pretty much anything I want under 12 inches. That's a folder, I believe. So, I see nothing wrong with this one. This is also something very valid to carry, and I think this was originally about $10 with a 20% off coupon code going into the beginning of the month here. So this is wonderful so far. Like, everything about this is skookum as frig. The build quality's there, the materials are there, the functions there. Like, this functions like a much more expensive knife than it actually is, which again is part of why I geek out on these things so hard. But that's kind of the video that I wanted to make today, and I wanted to reiterate this. I did a video a while back, but I don't think I quite got my thoughts out there properly. It's kind of a lot of the same vibe as this video, but I just really wanted to share my thoughts on this and show this thing off, because again, $8 find. Like, you're really, really hard pressed to beat that. This will probably hang with the Harbor Freight Gordon knife as far as performance and function, but it looks a lot better. It's a bit more comfortable in the hand. And again, this is something that I could travel with and be only carrying this for 2 weeks and have zero complaints about it. These things have gotten that good, and I've got a lot of much nicer knives. I got some, I've got the Bug Out with the aluminum scales and the M390. You've seen other nicer things that I've got. I've got some wonderful cold steels, things like that. It's just, one, I can afford these, and two, these things are so cool and they've gotten so good that I can't not mess with them. And, again, part of it is I can afford to buy these and check them out pretty regularly. So, that's what you guys kind of see with the new stuff coming in. And I'm still making videos with the rest of my collection right now, and hopefully once the holidays are over, I can start getting better stuff in again. But all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Guys, thank you so much for the subscribers. More of you are coming in, and it's very humbling. Thank you for the comments. I love some feedback. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.